that you saw the note there on Facebook that we were having some difficulty logging on to the Facebook platform this morning. As a result, unfortunately, the program could not be brought to you live. However, as you're now aware, it was done, pre-recorded, and there you go. You're able to watch it now. So, our apologies for that. No clue what the heck went on here this morning, but it's also up on YouTube, and it's going to be archived on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website as well. All right? So, sorry about that. Now, beautiful morning here in the Spice Isle, by the way. Beautiful morning, and even though you're there but not there, we're glad that you took the time to come on back and look at us. Let's take a look at the rundown, see what sort of mischief. It's going to be a lighthearted morning, very lighthearted morning. All right? Let's start by breaking some news to you. I discovered over the past couple of days that our good friend, not mentioning any names yet, you'll find out, our good friend is going to Mars. Yeah. She has purchased a ticket, which she is flaunting on her Facebook page. And I'm going to share that with you in just a wee bit, all right? We're also going to take a look at a short video this morning, which is captioned, "How Puppies Make Us Happy." This is for those of you who are dog lovers out there like I am. How puppies make us happy. You wouldn't believe how much I love little doggies. But I swore after I had to put my little pooch to sleep years ago, maybe about 12 years ago, I'm just not ready to have another dog. I've now had to put 2 dogs to sleep, and I don't want to have to do it a third time. It is painful, painful. So, that's why I'm without a puppy right now. But let me tell you, every time I get a chance to play with puppies, I'm there. So we're going to show you something this morning about just how affectionate puppies can be and how funny they can be as well. It's like, you know, they have a mind of their own. Yeah, anyway, we'll show you that in a minute. Then, have you ever wondered about the shooting stars you see going across the sky at night? Hey? Yeah. I have another little video which I'm going to share with you this morning, which purports to explain what some of those shooting stars might be. This is from an astronaut with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. As he explains, it's possible that what you're seeing shooting across the sky may just be waste, human waste. Hold on, we'll get to that in a wee bit, all right? We do have, the only serious thing I think we have this morning is the National Report. And after that, Sherron's back. Well, we'll find out whether or not she's fully recovered. I think she is, because I saw her this morning, and yes, she looks okay. None the worse for wear. We'll see. Anyhow, pilgrims, let's get down to our first little segment. You know, sometimes you think that you know your friends, only to find out later on that you really didn't know them as well as you thought you did. Our good friend who joins us here, and she's not on there yet this morning. I haven't seen her on there this morning, so I'm assuming for all intents and purposes she's a little bit late, which, could be a little bit unusual, or is a little bit unusual, Margaret Francis. Margaret. I found out, folks, that Margaret, even though I have known her for so long, has decided that she's going to Mars. You heard me. You heard me. Going to Mars. She has actually purchased a ticket. I'll show you her boarding pass in just a wee bit. Come on. Yeah, just in case you have any doubts about my honesty, I'll show you that boarding pass. Actually, let me show it to you right now. Take a look. See the name on there? Margaret Francis. If you look very carefully on the left side of that monitor, you'll see boarding pass Mars. Yaman. And this flight is expected to depart in July of next year, July 2020. So, Mags is going off to Mars. Okay? We're going to miss her. I don't know how long she plans on going for, but we're going to miss her. So if you don't believe me, you can go to her website, facebook.com/Margaret Francis. You'll see it. It's there. I can't resist telling you this as well, that last night, as I went to bed, I asked myself this question. Is Margaret just going off on a trip to Mars? Or is she actually going back home? See, the reason why I say, you know, sometimes, for those of you who've been on this forum with us every morning, and even SWGG, you can't help but wonder, whether she actually comes from Mars. So this may not be a vacation or an experimental or exploratory trip. This may simply be a matter of Mags going back home. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, I was hoping that, you know, we might find out this morning. But because of the difficulty we're having with Facebook, I guess I'm not going to find out. I'm not going to find out now. But by the time she watches this later in the day, pray for me. Pray for me. She's going to let me have it. Yeah. All right. Yes. Now, have you ever wondered? Have you ever wondered what it's like to go potty when you're in space? Huh? And after you've gone potty in space, what happens to that waste? What happens to that waste after you've gone potty in space? Boy, I've got a lesson for you about space travel. Check this out.
When you go to the bathroom on Earth, you're relying on gravity pretty heavily. Imagine if you were halfway done and somebody shut off gravity, it would be a mess. And you'd float off the toilet. So when we designed our space toilet, first it has to have a seatbelt on it to hold you down. And then we decided to separate solids and liquids because they're easier to store that way. So we just have a tube that you pee into, and it has air pulled into the tube. So it's not a big deal. For the women, there's a cup fits up against them. For the guys, it's just like a little funnel. You just pee into this tube, and it goes into a sewage tank. But the solids that come out of your body, that's a harder problem to solve. And it's an important medical one. Because on Earth, everything falls on the floor. But in space, it's going to float around. So it'll really make you sick If you re-ingest something that came out of your body, it will really make you sick. And we can't afford to get that sick. So we designed a toilet that instead of gravity pulling everything into the toilet, it has air flow. There's air pulled down into the toilet. Sort of windy when you're sitting there, but it pulls everything out of your body. Everything that comes out of your body gets pulled down into the toilet by the air. And then in the storage tank, we just expose that to the vacuum of space. So it basically just freeze dries everything. So it kills all the bacteria so that there's no smell. And then we just store it. And then when you have a whole bunch of it stored, we put it in a little unmanned supply ship, and we undock it, and it burns up in the atmosphere. So the next time you see a beautiful shooting star going across the sky, that's what it might be.
All right, so there you have it. Now you know what happens when you go potty in space. Yeah. See the things you learn here, man? That's not all about politics and Brango and scandal and TB and all that. Learn very important stuff there. Next time you see a shooting star, it's just what it might be. Finally, in our opening segment this morning, finally, we are going to take a look at puppies, for those of you who are dog lovers, and just how puppies make us happy. Check this out. Aren't they cute? Aren't they cute? I certainly remembered Brandy as I watched that, my little pooch. Little pooch who lived to be 18 years old, little Pompey, hey? All right, folks, it's now, let's see, 9:15 and a half. Let's take our first little break here. And we'll come on back with the National Report. And right after that, we'll get right into our little segment, Wednesday morning segment. Sherron.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Coop Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Hey, what? I just came from the land and this sign here caught my eye. What's that sign about?
Someone must have asked Grenlec to move a pole. But you know, there's no space reserved on the side of the road for planting poles. So Grenlec has to get permission from landowners, and that can take a lot of time.
Oh, Grenlec asked me to help them contact my neighbor Ben about planting a pole on his land. But Ben passed away. His children own the land, but they all live abroad.
That's why Grenlec needs customers to inform them in writing at least 3 months in advance.
3 months? All that?
It seems like a lot, but think about the time it will take for Grenlec to find and get permission from all of Ben's children. And sometimes moving one pole requires you to move the pole before, the one after, plus the wires that support them on the ground. That means even more landowners to find and get permission from. Then Grenlec needs to schedule their teams and notify customers about any power outages.
Well, I need the pole on the farm moved, so I'm going to write Grenlec a letter now.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Farm Labor Support Program begins next week. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, October 1st, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. Grenada's 2019 Farm Labor Support Program will commence on Monday, October 7th, providing employment for more than 400 Grenadians. Government has allocated over $300,000 for the program, which will benefit 130 farms across the country. During the government's weekly post-cabinet press briefing on Tuesday, Agriculture Minister, the Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford, said her ministry will support the establishment of more than 200 acres of 5 key crops and spices.
The establishment of 100 acres of soursop. You know, soursop is our gold. And we have to ensure that soursop we keep planting and refurbishing those fields. The establishment of 25 acres of cocoa, the establishment of 25 acres of nutmegs, 50 acres of spices in St. David's, and we chose St. David's because the soil in St. David's is the right soil for planting spices, and a lot of our spices have went down after Hurricane Ivan and Emily in that area. We'll be establishing 10 acres of coconuts, and we are rehabilitating the drum plots at the Ashenden and Lassages stations.
Minister Ben Hosford says contracts for the Farm Labor Support Program will be done fortnightly for 2 months.
We have over 50 gangs will be participating in the program, and that will be for a period of 2 months. On this program, each worker will be entitled to a maximum of 2 fortnights. 130 farms will benefit from this program.
The program, which commenced more than 10 years ago, was recently amended to include the completion of a contract by farmers who require support. To be eligible, farmers must have access to land, maintain their fields, and should not have received any assistance on the same plot of land from any previous labor support program. Grenada is receiving €2 million from a tranche of €50 million set aside by the European Union to help Caribbean countries in their fight to eliminate violence against women and girls. As part of the campaign, the Ministry of Social Development is completing a draft country program called the Spotlight that will be presented for implementation next year. Grenada is working with the United Nations and the EU in this vein. On Monday, the EU and UN delegates met with members of the civil society to discuss the current draft document and chart the way forward. EU Program Manager Katia Venson said the focus is to build partnerships with countries that already have existing programs. She says priority will be given to the primary healthcare sector.
Something that's important for us in the EU is to make sure that we can build synergies with other either existing or planned programs. And our bilateral work with Grenada, the focus is primary health care. So I'm already in discussion with the program manager who has this portfolio to see, okay, once we have everything clocked for the Grenada country program, we're going to see how can we maybe make 1 + 1 become 3. How can we maximize the resources? Because of course it's also access to services, and since we're engaged in the primary healthcare sector, we are committed to see how we can try to build on what we're doing under the Spotlight Initiative. So that's at least our aim and our ambitions. So that is something that I would like to keep on dialoguing with you about as we move forward into implementation.
Head of the Gender and Family Affairs Division, Mrs. Elaine Henry McQueen, said Grenada will create linkages between its Spotlight program and the National Sustainable Development Plan to ensure its success. The program consists of 6 pillars.
High human and social development, putting people at the center of sustainable development and transformation. And one of the outcomes, the one right at the bottom, which is bold for our focus, is a resilient, inclusive, gender-sensitive, and peaceful society. And again, the Spotlight is in sync with that. Strengthen interventions to combat domestic violence and child abuse. And the last pillar, promoting resilient governance, ensure government continuity, and the institutional strengthening component would fit there, would support that. And the strengthen national data and statistics is also within Spotlight, of course, as they relate to violence against women and girls.
Consultations for the Grenada Country program began in June 2019. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The house was shaking. Then suddenly saw we hear bang, crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home For example, make your roof more wind resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and SEDERA.
Continuing the news, 2012 Olympic champion Kirani James clocked the fastest time, 44.94 seconds, in the first round heats of the men's 400 meters in Doha, Qatar on Tuesday. This was Kirani's second race of the season. He was away from the track for an extensive amount of time since taking the silver medal at the 2016 Olympics in Rio due to illness. James made his way into the World Championships after posting a qualifying time in Spain on September 6th, the very last day to become eligible.
I think I had the race under control, but Walsh from Japan really, I think his last 100 was very impressive, you know, so I think that's the beauty of the sport, beauty of the event is that everybody wants to make it to the next round, and you can't really take anything for granted, so, you know, I'm proud of him for, you know, doing what he's doing, representing this country and trying to get to the next round, so, yeah, it wasn't as easy as it looked.
Kirani told reporters after the race that he feels healthy and awaits the lineup for the semi-final on Wednesday.
I have to see the start list first, and once I see that, then you know you can kind of formulate a race plan and that kind of stuff. But I'm just happy to move on to the next round.
Are you fully
Healthy as I can be. So yeah.
Is that why you waited so long to race this year?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Is it weird? This is the World Championships, and it's only your second over 100 of the year.
Yeah, it's the World Championship, and it's also October, so you know. Yeah.
Finally, Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell on Tuesday received the credentials of the new United Nations Development Program resident representative for Barbados and the OECS, Margie Martinez Solomon. The UNDP representative indicated a desire to mobilize more resources for the benefit of Grenada and its OECS neighbors. The Prime Minister acknowledged that the UNDP has been extremely supportive of Grenada's development thrusts, providing technical support in a number of areas. Dr. Mitchell is keen to see the relationship with the UNDP grow from strength to strength, and he welcomed the potential for additional grant funding to be made available. During his brief visit to Grenada, the UNDP resident representative will also meet with the Attorney General and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, among others. The UNDP, according to its website, works in about 170 countries worldwide, helping to eradicate poverty and reduce inequalities and exclusion. The organization assists countries with policy formation, enhancing leadership skills, building institutional capacity, and building resilience to sustain development results. And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Well, just in case you're wondering whether or not she is here, take a look. See, there she is. Off center, but she's there. And we'll get to her in just a wee bit, you know, folks. Once again, you were not able to comment this morning during the national report, so I bet that drove some of you absolutely crazy, huh? Well, sorry about that. But at least you're able to see us now that the program's over and done with. It's 9:30, and I'm going to take a little break here now, and we will come back with Sherron in just a wee bit.
GRENADA Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENADA, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
Mm-mm. I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks, it's now, let's see here, 26 and a half minutes before 10 o'clock. Good morning, Sherron. How you doing, girl?
Good morning, George. I am good.
Yeah?
Yes.
Man, listen, I'm sure you got some stuff up your sleeve, but I can't wait to find out how things went last weekend. I know you were preoccupied with Ricky.
Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was an amazing gathering. It was the biggest since we started in 2009.
Oh, really?
This was the biggest. We were too short of 60.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, the majority of them had never been to Grenada before.
Okay.
So we had a day trip. We went to Granitang, and a lot of people loved it, although they thought it was smaller than they expected.
What, the lake?
The lake.
Yeah.
But you know, we have an invasion of these weeds.
Yeah, boy.
Or I don't know what's the correct name there.
Weed.
It's weeds.
But I see they're making plans. They got a boat to cut through that stuff now.
Yes, there was something like a floating object tied up near to the jetty.
Right, that's probably
Apparently they used that to
clear it away.
But it looked very small, indeed.
Yeah.
But it was great, and the weather held. So, and then from there we went to Belmont Estate, and the food. Everybody was saying the food in Grenada cannot be compared with any of the other islands. It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. I was proud. Everything went nicely. The presentations were great. And the session on healing a broken heart was so touching that I had to leave the room. It was getting too emotional.
You're talking about the session on healing a broken heart. I know you guys did have different sessions.
Yes.
Different themes, but healing a broken heart. Explain to me, how does that apply to Reiki?
Well, Reiki has many different aspects. Like, for example, they said it's spiritual, emotional, physical. So if you have a pain, we can get rid of the pain. If you have something like they say, a broken heart, it's not just hands-on, although the hands-on Reiki would calm you down and make you feel more centered, but coming out with what is bothering you and speaking in a forum where you're safe. You know, nobody's gonna criticize you and nobody's gonna go out later and say, you know, George sat down there and he was pretending to cry, and you know, none of that. We have a safe environment where you could be yourself. And the reality is a lot of us, especially here in Grenada, carrying around deep hurt. What you see on the surface is not all there is. And that session on healing a broken heart gave a lot of people a chance to really speak about their deep hurt. And it can affect some other people. I mean, some people cry in sympathy, some people cry because they're in the same place too. I couldn't handle all that emotion, so I volunteered to go outside, and they had a couple people there with young children. I went and took care of the kids.
And the babysat.
Yes, and gave the parents a chance to come in and experience what was going on at that session. But I was present for all the other sessions.
Okay. And you had people here from different countries, right?
Oh yes, we had from Cyprus, the UK, the US, Canada, Jamaica, Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad. I'm sure I missed out somebody.
Yeah. Well, it was a success, and you say the biggest since you guys started having it. That's good.
So in Jamaica next year.
Next year, and you're going up.
Oh yeah.
You're going up.
I haven't missed any in the 11th. This was the 11th, and there are 4 of us who haven't missed any.
Already? Okay. Yeah. All right. Sherron, what have you heard? You remember that incident a couple of weeks ago where a bus ran off the carnage?
Yes.
I'm sure you heard this week that the bus driver has now been charged.
Yes.
Causing death by reckless driving or something?
But the thing is, I thought they said that his brakes went.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know how fair that is. I'm sure that the people concerned saying yes, he should be charged. And the reality is the way some bus drivers drive.
Yeah.
You wish more of them could be charged. So I need to know more as to why the charge, and because some people are saying too that had he not gone overboard with the bus, had he banked it or tried to pull it against maybe a building or something, more people would have been injured.
That's a possibility.
So the whole thing could have been a lot worse than it was.
I'll tell you one thing I noticed. I went down, this thing happened about 20 after 9 in the morning. And I didn't get down there because I was on the air here. I didn't get down there until sometime after 11 o'clock. And I took pictures, and I showed this on the program. The tires on the left side, the wheels on the left side of the bus were both flat.
Yes.
Okay? The front wheel on the right side of the bus was as smooth as glass.
Yeah.
So, you know, that brings into question how well do we monitor the maintenance of the vehicles that we use for public transport.
Right. Now, question, was the driver the owner of the bus? yes, he's driving, so he should be more vigilant. But you know, a lot of times you tell like the owner, we need tires. They don't want to buy tires. They don't want to spend a penny to maintain the bus. So if he was not the owner of the bus, should he be the only person charged?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And I have not confirmed it, but I do understand that he was not the owner of the bus. I understand the owner of the bus is a pastor.
Well, I think he should be charged too.
Yeah.
Because it is not fair to just charge a person who's driving the bus, because I have seen cases where somebody drive a bus and they come in the morning and they pick up the bus and they come in the evening and they drop it off and they drop off the money and all that. When is the bus being maintained? Isn't the owner the person responsible for that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe I'm not too sure about how I feel about him being charged, but I do know that more than one person should be charged.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, okay, you may have a point there, but you know, then again, the way justice is administered in this country makes you wonder if anything will ever happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of sad. That's kind of sad. All right, so what else you got up your sleeve?
Well, I will not be sitting here next week. I'm going up to the U.S.
Hold on now, hold on. Just stick a pin for a minute. You will not be sitting here next week.
But I will be here.
On the program.
Yes.
Yes. She usually carries her laptop. You've seen her do it from Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be, unless, I will always let you know what's happening. So if by some weird reason I'm not able to do that, I'd let you know.
All right.
Yeah. But it's a long time we didn't talk about Peter Martinic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking at one point about, you know, how these folks celebrate Christmas, and you mentioned to me that I think it's as early as the end of November.
Yes.
They swing into high gear.
There are a couple of people who have birthdays around the 25th of November, around that time. And a few times, well, most times it happens where they'll be celebrating a birthday and then they take it further. Somebody have a guitar and before you know it, because you know Peter Martinic people, they play many instruments. And it's amazing to see the way you'll be playing a guitar and I'll be playing a violin, and next minute you see that switch, and they switch instruments. It's amazing.
Okay.
And they circle the island. They go to every home. The only people who may not get a visit is if you have a sick in the house, then they may not come to you at midnight. But if they're visiting during the day, they would go.
So they go around the island serenading.
Yes.
That's like we used to do when I was a little kid growing up. I used to love this part of Christmas. Caroling, I think we called it, you know. Little groups got together in the evening, you know, once the sun went down, and started going around from house to house singing carols. I understand that it still happens a little bit in certain parts of the island, but not to the extent when we were kids.
It happens a bit in St. Paul's, you know, because Comancheros serenade. They get on a truck and they go, and they would stop for a while on their trucks. They don't come off, but they play the music, play steel band, and they do, and a few other people too. I think last year there's somebody else.
All right, now since we're on a tradition here, the caroling and whatever, let me ask you this. You know we have a holiday coming up on the 25th of this month, Thanksgiving.
So-called Thanksgiving.
So, well, you know, to me it's a day off, but you know, I've often wondered, you know, how come is it that we just don't seem to celebrate Thanksgiving to the extent that, for example, the Americans do? for a lot of people here in Grenada, and I confess, me too, I use it as a day of rest. And yes, I thank God every day. I don't have to wait until Thanksgiving to thank God. Okay.
You see, it's a make-up holiday. Grenada hasn't always celebrated Thanksgiving in the sense of, you know, you bring food and you celebrate and things. So the Grenada Thanksgiving is giving thanks for the invasion, right? Some people call it intervention and all that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a personal thing, is how you see it and what you want to do with it. I think that the church in St. Paul's, the Catholic Church in St. Paul's, for example, choose that day to have their harvest. You know, a lot of churches have harvests and tea and lunches and as a fundraiser. And I think the Catholic Church in St. Paul's, since I moved back to Grenada in 2000, I know they have a luncheon and a harvest on that day. So people celebrate it different ways.
Yeah, but you know, having a harvest, is that really some way of showing thanks, or, you know?
Well, there's some churches have
A mass, for example, a service?
Well, I know St. George University have something. They celebrate the invasion.
They usually have something out of the airport, at the monument out of the airport, right?
Right.
Right.
But I think the government do too. The government normally have, and they choose a church that they go to, and they have a church service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just that, you know, for those of you who watch television, you obviously know that the Americans make a big deal of Thanksgiving. Sales, for one.
Yes.
Yeah, the holiday. It's a time when family, regardless of what part of the states you are, people travel long distances to be with their families.
I think it's one of the biggest holidays they celebrate.
Yeah.
Is it the last or the third Thursday in November?
I don't know exactly when it is, but so ours is going to be on the 25th. Let me see here. What day? I think it's a Friday, eh?
Okay.
Just hold on a second. Let me pull up this calendar here.
25th
But
of
the 25th, yep, it's a Friday. So for many, it's going to be a
So
long
you have
weekend.
a long weekend.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to be celebrating Thanksgiving?
I am.
Making roti?
Put me on the spot there. No, somebody actually called me and asked me to do some cooking for the church in Montparnasse, we'll be doing a luncheon.
Okay.
So I'm not sure yet what I have to do, but I would make a contribution there.
Another thing I didn't mention, you know, Thanksgiving in the United States is synonymous with turkeys.
Yes.
Yeah. Why the turkey?
I'm not too sure. We'll do some research in advance of their Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I'm not too sure, but maybe Mags could tell us.
Yeah,
maybe
Mags,
she knows.
but Mags is not on with us this morning. Hey, by the way, speaking about Mags, at the start of the program, do you know that Mags is going to Mars?
She's going to Mars?
You heard me, Mars.
As in?
M-A-R-S.
As in the planet?
She has her boarding pass already.
All right.
Leaving July 2020.
Okay. She coming back?
That's what I was wondering, you know. I came across this week on her page, her boarding pass. She published it. You can check it out. She published it. And leaving July 2020. And I was explaining to my viewers this morning that I've known Margs for years. And I never dreamt that she had any inkling
to go space travel?
Space travel, you know? And then when I saw this thing, I couldn't help but ask myself, Sherron, is this just a desire to go on a vacation to Mars or an exploration or something? Or could it be that Mags is actually Going back home.
Oh boy, she's gonna get you.
So if you guys don't see me here tomorrow, she's in New
Yes.
York, right? But with air travel, what it is today, she could be here in a heartbeat and beat the stuffing out of me. Eh?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man. Anyhow,
Yes.
so yes, when you get home, you can take a look at the program and you'll see Mags's boarding pass, serial number, and everything.
Uh-oh.
Even got the landing site all cut out on Mars, and yeah, man, it's serious stuff.
Okay.
So you going to Mars too?
Nope. Grenada may come from.
Grenada may come from. Let me tell you, some of the people on this forum here, I love you guys dearly, but some of them, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to follow Margaret.
Yeah.
Actually, when I came across her boarding pass on her page, I sent her a little note asking, you know, if I could get into
You
her
want to go
suitcase.
too? You want to go too?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, trying to get away from.
The Grens, yeah. You know, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would like to as well.
Have you been paying attention to what's going on in New York with the UNGA?
With who?
UNGA, United Nations General Assembly.
Well, when was it? On Monday morning, I think it was. I carried the speech that was delivered by Foreign Affairs Minister Peter David.
Okay.
Yeah. And one day last week, I also carried the address by that 16-year-old Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's good.
What else should I know about what's going on at the UN, apart from the fact that we're there with a hat?
Just before I left home, I was flicking through and I saw my, what's her name? The Barbados Prime Minister.
Mia Mottley.
Mia Mottley. They say Mia Mottley speaks her mind at the UN.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to know what she had to say. I'll go home and pull that up.
I don't know what she said. I didn't hear the speech, but I can agree with whoever said Mia Mottley speaks her mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very outspoken lady.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are expecting a lot from her as the Prime Minister. And, you know, there's still this feeling here in Grenada. You still hear people talking about it on the street about whether or not it's time for us to have a female Prime Minister. What say you?
I think so.
Yeah. And not just because it's a female, right?
Not just because it's a female. You know, a cock crow is a female that lay the egg. Men like to talk, but the women do the hard work.
I'm glad I'm not a woman. I could not see myself going through childbirth.
Yes, I think we have women in Grenada who will do an excellent job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I particularly like Clarice Modeste Cohen. She is one of my favorite politicians. Franca Bernardine. I think that woman is awesome. I think she would make an excellent prime minister. Mm-hmm. For some years ago, I said we need to have a party with at least 80% or maybe 90% women. Grenada would soar. You see, women are not as, female politicians are not as petty as the men. You wouldn't have the amount of victimization that you have under this government, for example. I think it's a good thing to have a lot.
You just opened up a little can here, because I hear what you're saying and I agree with you.
Can of worms.
Yeah, a can of worms. I think it was in the editorial on the weekend from the New Today. They were bemoaning the fact that I think in the cabinet you have 7, if not 8 women okay? A lot of women, and that's very impressive, very, very impressive for the representation of women, high levels of government, okay? But the paper was bemoaning the fact that despite the ill treatment of women in this country, they remain very silent. One case in point, look at first somebody raised the Callistra Faria, but then somebody raised the Gemma Bain Thomas. Gemma Bain Thomas has been owed money by the government, and they ain't paying.
Well, the difference is, yes, you have a lot of women in cabinet, but do they have a voice? If you have a woman in charge and you have women, they will have a voice.
Okay.
But right now, I think it's very evident that you have this men controlling. The women don't have a voice. They're there, yes, and it look good on paper, but you hear them talking? You hear them saying anything?
Nada.
So it's almost like they're not there. They're there on paper.
Yeah. What hypocrisy.
And I think that if they were strong enough to say how they feel, you wouldn't have all this nonsense you have going on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a minister taking advantage of a journalist and nobody speaking out. You know, if this was for real, the women in there would get at him and come out and say that he was wrong. But we're missing an element in Grenada, and it's a word that begins with F. You can't figure it out? Freedom. Freedom of speech. It scare you? That's one of the things missing.
You know, Sherron, you're right about that. You're right. Because I was just about to say to you, it's not just the women in cabinet who, I believe they're afraid to talk. They're afraid to talk. Some of the men, in fact, all of the men in cabinet. You know, look, in the United States, people within political parties disagree. Because you're a Republican doesn't mean that you see another Republican doing something wrong and you're going to sit down there and shut up. You come out and you say it. You don't dare do that here because your butt is grass.
But the reality now in the U.S. is just as bad. Because look at Lindsey Graham, who used to stand up for something, and now he's like a puppet. So, you know, you wonder what the person leading, what he has over the others. You know, but holding them by the short and curly, they cannot speak out.
They can't speak. And that's very unfortunate. You know, I think other people outside of this country recognize that we are already under a dictatorship. People here are still saying, well, it looked like we're headed in that direction.
Headed?
Headed. We are there, folks. Your freedoms. Just a while before they're all gone, you know?
You know, and one of the bad things, when you need something from politicians, you're in trouble. You know? People like me that I don't need them, I never did. And as I always say to these young women, those of you who feel you had to lower yourself to go sleep with them to get where you want to go, I'm sorry for you, because then they have you for life. You cannot open your mouth, you can't say anything. You see this me, and none of them could point their hand at me. One of them made the mistake of saying to me one time, look at me, it was the 10th of October, we were at the event celebrating 1010. And look at me and said, the one that got away. You wouldn't, I can't say on air what I tell him, but I peppered him. You have to have more respect for women. These people don't have no respect for women. And the women don't have respect for themselves. So we're in trouble.
God is in control. Thank you very much, young lady.
Thank you.
Go on, cook.
I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna make split pea soup.
All right. Take care, Sherron, and thank you so much.
Bye.
All righty, folks. There she goes with her usual Wednesday morning midweek visit, Sherron Roberts. Let me take a quick little break here, and then we shall come on back and wrap it up.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Alrighty, folks, just about time to pull the curtain down. It's 10:03. Parting word from the Holy Scriptures. And again, I implore you, please, listen carefully. Luke chapter 6, 33 to 36. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be the children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. So, be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Luke chapter 6, 33 to 36. On that note, pilgrims, Georgie Porgy is going to hightail it out of here. Have yourselves a beautiful midweek, Wednesday morning. I do pray God's blessings on you. And if he spares your life, let's get together again tomorrow morning at 9.